So there's a technical detail in the GPT 5.6 release that's got me concerned, and it's not what you think. It's about the potential for unintended consequences when scaling up the model's capabilities. Honestly, I've been thinking about this all week and I keep coming back to one problem: the lack of transparency around the model's decision-making process. This isn't a hypothetical, it's happening right now, and I think the most surprising specific detail is the way GPT 5.6 training data is structured, which I'll get into later. Look, the thing that worries me is that as we push the boundaries of what these models can do, we're also increasing the risk of unforeseen errors, and that's what I want to talk about. Now, I'm not 100% sure about this, but my read is that the GPT 5.6 model is so complex that even its creators might not fully understand how it's making certain decisions, and that's a recipe for disaster. Pauses. I think we need to take a closer look at the potential risks and consequences of deploying a model like this, before it's too late. So to understand this, you need to know about the history of GPT models and how they've evolved over time. Pauses. Look, the thing that's actually concerning about this is that each new iteration is being released at an incredible pace, with GPT 5.6 being the latest example. When I first saw this, I thought it was impressive, but the more I dug into the details, the more I realized that we're playing with fire here. Here's the thing: the developers of GPT 5.6 have made some significant changes to the model's architecture, which, honestly, I'm not sure are fully understood even by the creators themselves. This isn't a hypothetical, it's happening right now, and here's the evidence. For instance, the way GPT 5.6 handles certain types of input is fundamentally different from its predecessors, and that's where things get interesting.
Look, the architecture here is fundamentally different, and while the benchmarks are impressive, they're hiding some underlying issues that need to be addressed. As we saw with earlier models, the risk of unforeseen errors increases exponentially with the complexity of the model, and that's what's worrying me. Honestly, I don't know how they missed this, but it's a recipe for disaster if we're not careful. Wait, it gets even more concerning when you consider the potential consequences of deploying a model like this in real-world applications, and that's what I want to explore next. Look, the evidence is mounting, and it's not just about the impressive benchmarks GPT 5.6 has achieved. Honestly, I've been digging into the details, and what's actually concerning about this is the way the model's performance is being measured. I mean, the numbers are impressive: $2.7 billion in one quarter. That's up from $400 million 2 years ago. But here's the thing: these benchmarks look cherry-picked to me, and I'm not the only one who thinks that. Wait, it gets even more concerning when you consider the potential consequences of deploying a model like this in real-world applications. And this is where it gets interesting. The developers of GPT 5.6 have made some significant changes to the model's architecture, which, honestly, I'm not sure are fully understood even by the creators themselves. But here's the part that really got me thinking. What if this model is not just a tool, but a reflection of our own biases and shortcomings? Pauses. I mean, we're talking about a model that's been trained on vast amounts of data, but what if that data is flawed or incomplete? But here's the part that really got me thinking. Trails off, setting up the next section. Now, I've been thinking about this all week, and I keep coming back to one problem: the potential consequences of deploying a model like GPT 5.6 in real-world applications. Honestly, I'm not sure we're ready for this. If you're a developer, this means you'll need to carefully consider the risks and benefits of integrating GPT 5.6 into your projects. For anyone using language models, here's what changes. You'll need to be more vigilant about monitoring and testing the output. I mean, think about it. We're talking about a model that can generate human-like text, but what if that text is misleading or inaccurate? As we saw earlier, the developers of GPT 5.6 have made significant changes to the model's architecture, which, honestly, I'm not sure are fully understood even by the creators themselves. So, what does this mean for the future of language models? I think by Q3 we'll see a lot of companies reevaluating their use of GPT 5.6, and that's when things will get interesting. Here's the thing, we're not just talking about a model, we're talking about a tool that can have real-world consequences. If you're a business owner, you need to consider the potential risks and benefits of using GPT 5.6 in your operations. I could be wrong about this, but my gut says that we're playing with fire here, and it's only a matter of time before we see some serious consequences. So, what do you think? Are we ready for a model like GPT 5.6? Or are we rushing into something that we don't fully understand? Pause. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Here's what's actually concerning about GPT 5.6. It's not just the impressive benchmarks, but the potential consequences of deploying a model like this in real-world applications. Now, I'm not saying this is a deal breaker, but it's definitely a red flag. I think by mid-2027, we'll see a major correction in the way these models are developed and deployed. Here's my call. By Q1 2027, we'll see at least one high-profile incident involving a language model like GPT 5.6, and that's when the industry will be forced to take a hard look at its priorities. If you want the deeper story on OpenAI's approach to model development, I did a full video on it, and it should be popping up on your screen right now. If my call is wrong, tell me where. The best pushback usually changes my mind.